Sorry for the interruption. Sentences are made of clauses. As I told you earlier, a sentence may consist of one or more than one clause. This is what I told you earlier, right? I think you can remember these points. Now, there are three ways in which clause may be described. There are three ways in which clauses may be described. One, in terms of the clause elements, right? You can talk about clauses in terms of the clause elements. And what are the clause elements? Subject, verb, object, complement, and adverbial, right? So these are clause elements, right? Next, in terms of finite clauses, non-finite clauses, right? Now, when you learned about relative clauses, I talked about participle clauses, that is ing clauses or ed clauses, that is non-finite clause, right? So I have already taught you non-finite clause, that is ing or ed clauses. And finite clause means a sentence with a principal clause, sentence with noun clause, relative clause, adverbial clause, right? So all these are finite clauses. And in terms of clause function, right? Today I have placed before you these two areas, that is clause elements and clause function, right? First, you have to understand these 2 points. Now, a clause can be, we can look at a clause or describe a clause on the basis of its function. That's why you should first remember that a clause performs a function, right? Or a clause has a specific function in a sentence. Now, today we shall talk about noun clause. Now, whatever the clause, be it noun clause, relative clause, or adverbial clause, you must have some elements in the clause, in a certain clause, right? And what are the clause elements? Subject, verb, object, complement, adverbial, right? Now let me tell you about functions. Now you know how words behave in a sentence, basically, right? You know how noun works in a sentence. You know how adjectives are used in a sentence. You know how adverb works in a sentence. So without clear idea of the function of a noun, you cannot understand how a noun clause works in a sentence, right? So first, concentrate on clause elements. With clause elements, you will get a clause, right? And then you have to understand how that clause works in a certain sentence, right? So these two things are very important. Now I will discuss these two things together, right? Because without clause elements, it is not possible to produce a clause or to get a clause, right? So today's task first is to understand how a noun works. Now you think it over how a noun works. Certainly a noun can work as a S. S means subject. As S means subject, right? A noun can work in a sentence as O. O means object, right? A noun can work in a sentence as C. C means complement. Now, these are the basic functions of a noun. So you first write down 3 sentences with noun as these functions. That is, write 3 sentences where noun works, number 1 as subject, then 2 as object, then 3 as complement. It may be noun, it may be noun phrase, and I discussed in detail noun phrase, so it is also clear to you. So make or take a noun or noun phrase to be used as subject, to be used as object, to be used as complement. First do these tasks, and if you succeed, then it will be easy for you to follow what is going to follow, right? That is, we are going to talk about noun clause. So do it first. Now you have taken so much time. Let me help you, right? I ask you to write 3 sentences with noun as subject, with noun as complement, with noun as object, right? And I also told you that noun or noun phrase may be used, right? So let me first give you an example of a sentence with the first verb pattern. Now I am talking about verb pattern. S plus V dots. Dots means here you can use A. A means adverb, adverbial. You can use C. C means complement, like this. Now first S, here S should be obviously noun or noun phrase. So the example can be like this. The book is useful. The book is useful. So here the book is noun phrase, functions as subject in the sentence or in the clause. Here is a sentence with a single clause. So here noun phrase, the book is subject. Next, S plus V plus C. C means complement, and C should be a noun or noun phrase. Now there are 2 types of complement, right? Here I talk about complement after V, that refers back to subject, right? So here V means linking verb, be verb, more frequently used. So let me give you example. This is a useful book. This is a useful book. So be verb, linking verb, this subject, and a useful book complement, noun phrase, right? Next, S plus V plus O. O should be a noun or noun phrase. So let me give you example. I wrote the poem. I wrote the poem. S plus V plus O. So O here is the poem. Again, noun phrase. Now you can understand the primary functions of a noun, right? Noun functions, there are many ways in which noun functions, but today we focus on three functions of a noun or noun phrase, right? Now if you put a clause in place of the noun, then it will become a noun clause, right? So it is clear now to you that you can put in each sentence, example sentence, a clause in place of the noun phrase, right? In place of the noun phrase. So let me repeat. Complement. Complement means which makes sense complete. For example, he is, it makes no complete sense unless you put something after linking verb be, right? So he is a teacher. Now the sentence is complete. So a teacher, a noun phrase, is a complement. Is it clear? Now here is a sentence or clause with noun phrase as subject. His speech is inspiring, right? Now you can replace this noun phrase, his speech, with a clause. So what will happen? The function of the clause will remain the same as the function of the noun phrase, right? So what is the function of the noun phrase in the sentence? His speech is subject. So what you will put in place of this noun phrase will be a clause, and automatically it will be a noun clause working as subject. So what will be the sentence? What he says. What he says equal to his speech. Once I taught you this structure to go from a phrase to clause, I think you can remember. That's why I discussed this important thing in a certain previous class, right? So what he says is a noun clause. Why it is noun clause? Because it works as a subject of the sentence or clause, right? What he says is inspiring. And finally, we just transform a simple sentence into a complex sentence. This is the process. So if you use a noun phrase, you may get a simple sentence if there is only single finite clause. And if you use a clause in place of the phrase, naturally noun phrase replaced with noun clause, right? So here noun clause works as a subject. I think you have understood. Now here is an example of a sentence with S plus V plus C pattern, right? S plus B plus C, this is the verb pattern of this sentence. The news is his success in the example, right? Now, what is C? His success in the exam. How can you recognize C? Generally, C comes after linking verb. And what is linking verb? Be verb is a linking verb, right? So if you just say the news is, sentence remains incomplete, right? It does not make complete sense if you just say the news is. To make the sentence complete, you have to put something after linking verb, that is be verb, is. And what you have put? His success in the exam. Now the meaning or sentence becomes complete. That is called complement. Now if you replace his success in the exam, that is noun phrase, with a clause, it will become a noun clause used as complement, that is C, right? Now you have got another variety of noun clause. Now you got first WH clause as noun clause, right? WH clause. Noun clause begins with WH, right? That's why WH clause works as noun clause. Now you get that clause. So that clause works also as noun clause. Now the sentence the news is, this part of the sentence does not make complete sense. That's why you have put that clause, that he has succeeded in the exam, right? And it makes the sentence or the sentence complete. So here that clause works as complement.